Before you start most role-playing games, you get to create your character. Like in Dungeons & Dragons, you get to pick your name, your race, your class, your background, your stats, and more. Well, I've been feeling like I've just started a new chapter in my life, so let's do that. My name is Sierra, and let's build a simplified version of my character. Let's start with name and species, or race, whichever version of 5e you're using. My name is Sierra Grandy, or Sierra Grandy Esquire if I'm feeling fancy. And I am a Homo sapien, a human. So name and race, done. Next up, what's my class? According to D&D Beyond, class is the primary definition of what your character can do. It's more than a profession. It's your character's calling. For me, I'm a professional public speaker, a disability advocate, an attorney, a content creator. I own a business that's called Questify Your Life, LLC, which is a multimedia storytelling studio and creative guild. And within that, I'm working on launching a beta test version of a gamified group coaching offer, which uses the Questify Your Life system. I had to pick a class like in Dungeons and Dragons. I would multi-class in Wizard and Bard. I like to think I have this logical whimsy vibe about me. Wizard for all of the heavy academic work I've done, like getting my law degree or getting my international and comparative tax law master's degree. And I'd also be a wizard because of all the written advocacy work I do. And Bard is for storytelling and public speaking and all of the goofy side quests and adventures I get to go on. Next is background. What is my background? My backstory. D&D Beyond states, every story has a beginning. Your character's background reveals where you come from, how you became an adventurer, and your place in the world. Here are some highlights from my backstory, because every character has one. But remember, in our world, we get to determine when our backstory ends and our journey begins. I share my story very openly because it helps with perspective shifting work and general education. But it can get pretty heavy, so I'm just going to do the bullet points right now instead of taking you through all of that, because that could be its own video. But I also like that Dungeons and Dragons has different labels for their backgrounds, like noble, acolyte, folk hero, etc. And so if I were to name what my backstory and background was, it'd probably be something like, she's been through it. So like I said, my backstory is kind of heavy, but what is an RPG character without having a heavy backstory? For me, it was that I grew up with this serious mental health condition from ages 11 onward. My mental health condition was life-threatening, and it left me hospitalized many times. Different therapies, medications, residential treatment. While I was still in high school, I underwent electroconvulsive therapy, which is modern-day shock therapy. But that treatment did make me lose a year of my memory due to the amnesia side effects of getting a seizure induced in your brain. And I'm not mad that that happened. People were trying to keep me alive, and I'm still alive, so they did a good job. It took me many, many, many years to start my mental health recovery journey. I've recently just celebrated my 7th year in mental health recovery. 7 years of not wanting to rage quit this life. Favorite definition of mental health recovery is the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration's working definition of recovery, which is defined as a process of change through which individuals improve their health and wellness, live a self-directed life, and strive to reach their full potential. And I think about that definition quite a bit. It's not that I don't feel my symptoms anymore. It's that I have the tools and systems in place to help me cope with the world and build a life that I love. And I also live with a variety of different chronic pain conditions. So when it comes to my physical health, I often roll disadvantage. I'm always in pain. My pain signal is just in the on switch all the time, but I cope with it. We all have our strengths and weaknesses. So when we can focus on our strengths and adjust for our weaknesses, we're all better off. After you establish your name, your race, your class, your background, you can then assign numbers to your stats. Like dexterity or constitution. But for the real world, I think values are more important. So I'm going to analyze my values because I think that they're just more important to the real life game we play rather than my stats. But in case you are interested, from best to worst, my stats would be intelligence, wisdom, charisma, dexterity, constitution, strength. Values, though. My skills and proficiencies come from my values, which I've identified as courage, contribution, and curiosity. If you've never done a values quest before, like a quest to add language to your values, I'd recommend doing one. You can find an unoptimized, very early draft of a values quest in my very first Substack article, which I'll link below. I think it is worth adding language, and it's going to be imperfect language because we are aiming for useful, not perfect. So let's analyze skills with values. And this is going to be best done through an example. Let's use communication, specifically storytelling skills. My storytelling skill is between intermediate and advanced. And the reason I think it got so advanced is because it hits all three of my values. And we can go through each of them in turn. First, let's start with courage. I've been a professional public speaker for a year and a half now, but I've been doing public speaking on my story for about 6 years. And it takes a lot of courage to share some of the most vulnerable parts of my story with strangers. And when I'm on a stage or on a virtual call, oftentimes those strangers are other attorneys or other legal professionals. And that's scary. But it's also so worthwhile because it allows others to connect at a deeper level. And from there, the stuff I teach about and the practical guidance I provide is so much more useful. Or at least I've been given that feedback, and I believe that to be so. And then you have contribution. I use the storytelling skill to contribute to larger discussions on disability, neurodiversity, and mental health recovery, as well as do additional advocacy work and building resources for other advocates and individuals in advisory roles. And then curiosity. I'm not a perfect storyteller by any means, but I'm always learning and growing and exploring. I know enough to know that I don't know much of anything, but I also know enough to know that I can learn whatever I need to. Because I have the resources and the tools and the skills, I just not going to always remember everything. And so that's kind of the analysis that I think of when I'm thinking of my character. And I have so many other skills, but my point was to connect skills with stats and values, and I think I've done that sufficiently for now. And that's my character, or at least my simplified version of my character sheet. And so now that we have our character, we can go on quests. Go explore our open world. But I do want to zoom out for a moment and talk about why I make my life into quests and games. The basic idea is that life is already a journey. We already have tools and allies and obstacles and side quests and boss battles and cartoonishly evil villains. So using this as a framework just makes things more fun and doable. And so with this system, I'm able to create a more flexible, playful style of living that allows me to gain the momentum that I want to go after my goals and turn them into quests. I typically split the Questify Your Life system up into 3 parts. You have your journey, your character, and your quests. But it's flexible. It's not meant to be rigid. I built this system for myself first as I was navigating my mental health recovery, as I was taking all the tools I had learned from years and years of treatment and trying to figure out, how do I use those to maintain my well-being? How do I stay well and build a life that I love? Sometimes that would look like daily well-being quests, like quests to make sure that I get enough sleep, enough nutrition, enough movement, and enough connection. But other times it would be like doing a Tetris game in my bullet journal just to get momentum on doing homework. And I don't know if I've ever actually completed any of those Tetris boards, but I did complete my homework. And it's also about giving myself permission to fail. without feeling like I personally am a failure. In D&D, if you roll a 20-sided dice and it lands on a 1, that is a nat 1. It's a critical failure. It's the worst you can do on a roll of this dice. But if you get a critical failure, you don't just fail the game. You use it to move the story forward. It's good for the plot. And we don't truly get to know where the story is going. And that's part of the fun. So coming back to quests. I have so many quests that I am on. One of the obstacles I end up having to overcome over and over and over again is my own ambition, trying to get everything done all the time, all at once, which is not the way to do it. And I know that, but I'm making progress, and I have amazing allies and tools and skills. And I'm really, really grateful that I didn't rage quit my game. If any of this resonated with you, if you've ever felt like you were in survival mode rather than getting to actually choose and play your game, I want you to know that you're not alone. And while typical character creation covers a lot more than we covered today, like alignment and personality and aesthetics, I think that this did a sufficient job to hopefully give you some inspiration on thinking about what your own character is like, who you want to be. So subscribe if you want to continue getting content like this, like it if you liked it, and drop a comment below about your favorite quest or skills or your values if you go on the value quest, or maybe even a episode topic request. And if you like this type of content and you want to go deeper right now, I have plenty of articles on it on my Substack, and I'll put that below. So welcome, adventurer. I'm really glad you're here.